in the bustling city of Cresthaven, where ambition was the air everyone breathed. The annual science fair was the grandest stage. It was a spectacle of gleaming chrome, buzzing circuits, and the confident smiles of students from the city's most prestigious academies. And then there was Leo, a skinny kid from the forgotten side of town, clutching a cardboard box that seemed to hold all his hopes and dreams. As he walked into the cavernous hall, a ripple of whispers followed him. His clothes were hand-me-downs, his shoes were worn, and his project, hidden in that humble box, was an anomaly in a sea of expensive tech. The other students, with their polished presentations and corporate-sponsored projects, exchanged smirks and condescending glances. "Look what the cat dragged in," one sneered. "Does he think this is a recycling competition?" Another laughed. Leo heard them. Every single word was a tiny needle pricking at his confidence. He kept his head down, his knuckles white as he gripped his box. He found his assigned booth, a small, overlooked corner table, and began to set up. He didn't have a flashy display or a high-tech laptop. All he had was what was inside the box. He took a deep breath, trying to ignore the knot in his stomach. He was used to being underestimated, to being invisible. But today, he wasn't just here to participate. He was here to be seen. The judges began their rounds, their faces stern and impassive. They moved from one impressive project to the next: a miniature fusion reactor, a holographic interface, a self-aware robotic arm. They'd seen it all before, variations on themes that were impressive but predictable. As they approached Leo's table, their pace slowed. Their expressions shifted from bored professionalism to outright confusion. On Leo's table sat not a machine of chrome and wires, but something that looked like a living sculpture. A strange, lattice-like structure made from what appeared to be moss, algae, and repurposed plastic, all interconnected by a web of glowing, bioluminescent filaments. It pulsed with a soft, green light, humming with a quiet energy that was almost alive. "And what, young man, is this?" asked Dr. Aries Thorne, the head judge, a man famous for his brutal honesty and disdain for frivolity. His tone was laced with skepticism. Leo's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. He looked up, meeting Dr. Thorne's piercing gaze. It's a biopurifier, sir," Leo said, his voice trembling slightly before finding its strength. "It's a living machine that cleans the air and water at the same time." A wave of stifled laughter rolled through the nearby crowd of students. A living machine. The idea sounded like something out of a fantasy novel, not a serious scientific endeavor. Dr. Thorne raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. "Explain," he commanded, his voice sharp. Leo took another deep breath, the smell of the damp moss from his project calming his nerves. "My neighborhood, the air isn't clean," Leo began, his voice gaining conviction. "The old factories left the water in the canals toxic. People get sick. I wanted to find a solution that didn't cost millions of dollars. Something that worked with nature, not against it." He pointed to the different parts of his device. "This genetically modified moss absorbs airborne pollutants at a rate 1,000 times higher than normal plants. These algae strains are engineered to break down industrial toxins in water, converting them into harmless biomass. And the plastic, it's not just repurposed. The bacteria I cultivated in this lattice actually consumes microplastics, using them as a carbon source to grow and strengthen the structure." He then pointed to the glowing filaments. "And this is the best part. The entire process is powered by bioluminescence and photosynthesis. It's self-sustaining. It doesn't need a power grid. It just needs sunlight and pollutants to thrive. The cleaner the environment gets, the slower it works, maintaining a perfect equilibrium." Silence. A thick, heavy silence fell over the hall. The laughter had vanished, replaced by wide eyes and open mouths. The judges stared at the pulsating green device, then back at the boy who had created it. Dr. Thorne, a man who had seen the pinnacle of technological achievement, was speechless. He knelt for a closer look, his fingers tracing the air just above the glowing lattice. The bioengineering required for this, the symbiosis between the different organisms. This is revolutionary," he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. Another judge, a renowned environmental scientist, rushed forward with a set of portable sensors. She tested the air around the device, then took a water sample from a small, dirty tank Leo had connected to the intake. She ran the analysis, her eyes glued to her monitor. The numbers that flashed on her screen were impossible. The air quality index dropped from hazardous to clean in seconds. The water, once murky and filled with contaminants, was testing as pure H2O. "It's real?" she breathed, looking at Leo with a mixture of awe and disbelief. "It actually works. The efficiency it's off the charts." The news spread through the science fair like a shockwave. Students who had been laughing just moments before now crowded around Leo's booth, their arrogance replaced by a stunned curiosity. They pushed and shoved, trying to get a better look at the impossible invention created by the poor kid from the wrong side of town. Leo was no longer invisible. He was the center of the universe. He answered question after question, explaining the complex genetic sequencing, the years of trial and error in his makeshift bedroom lab, using discarded microscopes and scavenged equipment. He spoke of the nights he spent studying borrowed college textbooks by candlelight, because his family couldn't always afford electricity. He spoke of his dream, a city where every child, no matter where they lived, could breathe clean air and drink clean water. His story and his invention were a powerful testament to the idea that genius isn't confined to wealthy schools or gleaming laboratories. It can blossom anywhere, even in the most forgotten corners, fueled by necessity and a burning desire to make a difference. The judges huddled together, their hushed conversation filled with words like paradigm shift, Nobel Prize potential, and global impact. When they returned, Dr. Thorne's face was no longer stern. It was filled with a profound respect. He cleared his throat, tapping the microphone to get everyone's attention. The entire hall fell silent. 4 years, we have celebrated innovation that is complex, expensive, and often detached from the real world's most pressing needs, he announced, his voice echoing through the vast space. We've awarded power, speed, and computational might. But today we've seen something different. We have seen a solution born not from privilege, but from purpose. An invention that isn't just smart, but wise. It doesn't seek to conquer nature, but to partner with it. He turned and looked directly at Leo, a genuine smile gracing his lips for the first time that day. The first place prize and the city's innovation grant of $100,000 goes not to the most complex machine, but to the most impactful idea. It goes to Leo Washington and his biopurifier. The hall erupted in applause. It was a thunderous, genuine ovation that shook the entire building. It wasn't just for the invention. It was for the boy who had dared to dream beyond his circumstances. Leo stood frozen, the sound washing over him. $100,000. It was more money than his family had seen in their entire lives. He could barely process it. As the applause continued, his gaze drifted past the judges, past the crowd, and landed on a figure standing near the entrance. It was his mom. Her face was streaked with tears, but she was beaming with a pride so fierce it could have lit up the whole city. She had worked 2 jobs to support him, always encouraging his strange experiments, never once telling him his dreams were too big. Had done Italiano. He had done it for her. In the weeks that followed, Leo's life was transformed. His invention didn't just win a science fair. It ignited a movement. The city, shocked and inspired, rallied behind him. The mayor declared Leo's neighborhood the first site for a large-scale implementation of the bio. Volunteers and engineers from across the country flocked to help, turning his prototype into massive living structures that were installed along the canals and throughout the industrial district. They looked like beautiful, vertical gardens, glowing with a soft green light at night, transforming the once dismal landscape into a work of art. The air began to smell fresh and clean. The water in the canals, for the first time in a generation, ran clear. Birds returned, and children who had never known anything but smog and pollution began to play outside without fear. Leo became a hero, not just in his own community, but for the entire city. He wasn't the poor black boy from the wrong side of town anymore. He was Leo Washington, the boy who taught a city of steel and glass that the greatest solutions are often found in the quiet, resilient power of life itself. He proved that it doesn't matter where you come from or what others think of you. What matters is the size of your ideas and the courage to bring them to life. His story became a legend in Cresthaven, a reminder that the next world-changing invention might not come from a billion-dollar lab, but from a cardboard box carried by a kid with a dream. Thanks for watching. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe for more.